Hello, beautiful people. It's Sindafam. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're going to be checking this video together. Let's check it out.
A new trend is sweeping theatreland in the UK and US. Blackout performances are dedicated to black-only audiences. Those who are not black are asked not to buy tickets. The Theatre of Royal Stratford East in London says no one's excluded from attending their new show, Tambo and Bones, but promotional material makes clear that white people aren't wanted at the production on the night in question. Says a blackout night is a purposeful creation of an environment in which an all black identifying audience can experience and discuss an event in performing arts free from the white gaze. So does this mean I can go if I identify as a black man? There would be some on the woke side who would have, well, they have trouble disagreeing with that, given they believe in limitless self-identity. But it is more importantly, is it ever okay to exclude audiences based on skin colour? What would happen, for example, if it was the other way around? If this was a white-only audience? Well, I'm joined by the Talk TV contributor Esther Krakow and the Black Lives Matter organiser and activist Iman Aidens. All right, Iman, I'm just trying to picture what would happen if I put on a theatrical production in London and it said it was for whites only, or people identifying as white, which is obviously a ludicrous phrase, but you would go nuts. You would say that is blatant racism, segregation, dragged us kicking and screaming back to the dark days of appalling bigotry. You would.
Well, it depends on the context, right?
There's no whites-only audience.
It depends on the
No
context.
black people allowed. What would you say?
Well, I think you're perfectly right. It would be akin to racists finding more ways to be more racist.
So why
That's
is it
probably
okay
what I
this
would
way
think.
around?
Okay, so we have to put it into context. It was one out of the 29 shows.
Doesn't matter.
Yes, it does. Let's put it into context, Piers. You want to forget about context. Context is everything. It is one out of the 29 shows that was targeted towards black people. And at no point did they say certain people were not excluded. In fact, they actually said it verbatim on their website. No one is excluded, and yet you have found racism.
No. I just read the rest of what they said. It's pretty clear. You are not supposed to go if you're not black.
No, please consider booking other dates.
Right, exactly.
That's what they
I think the context.
Esther.
You're right. The context is important. I think the issue here is when it's talking about sort of blackouts, and it's trying to gather an audience of black people that they believe have the same experience.
Right. Exactly.
This doesn't transpose the same way it does in the US and the UK, right? A black person in the UK could be black African, black British, black from the Caribbean, right? In the US, the conversation around race is completely different, and that's why it's a problem. Obviously, when you bring this to the UK, people are going to be like, "What are you talking about?" This is especially in London, the most multicultural city in the country.
Can you see any merit to it?
Of course not. But I don't even think it makes
But
sense in the American context.
Why is that?
I
If you're
don't-
talking about safe spaces, because let's just be
because
clear,
I
we're
don't
talking
think-
about
I
safe
don't think-
spaces.
because
here,
I think
right?
What do you
idea-
mean safe space? What does that mean?
Okay, so
That you wouldn't feel safe if I came along?
No. Again, context. We're talking about a play that was done by black people for black people,
Americans,
targeted
though.
for black people.
So?
And so,
So what?
one out of the... Again, let's just be clear, because you're clearly not getting this message. It is basically akin to the disabled community putting on 29 shows, and 29 shows about disabilities, and then one of those shows is targeted towards the disabled community. That is what it is akin to, and yet you have a problem. Why is that, Piers? Have you genuinely asked yourself
I have
why
a
it's
problem.
different between disabilities
I
or
have-
disabled community or
problem.
Jewish, but when it comes to black,
My problem
okay.
is that you have already conceded that if it was the other way round, and this was a whites-only night of this theatrical performance,
Context.
you would say racist. And that's my
Safe
problem.
Spaces.
It's
Safe spaces.
it's the
Black
double
people are
standard.
disproportionately
Can I
affected
just
by
ask
racism, so
why-
therefore it's about safe spaces. This play
I
is
don't
about
think this
racism.
kind of...
Can you imagine? Say it's about safe space. So if white people had the exact same thing or decide to host an event like this, it would be seen as racism. Imagine blacks were complaining about this same thing that used to be done to them back in the day, but now it is totally acceptable for them to do the exact same thing to white people and not see any difference in it. Because what is the difference between what they are doing now and what used to be done back then? Because if theirs is not seen as racism, so obviously if a white person does the exact same thing, is not, it shouldn't be seen as racism, right? Or shouldn't be seen as racist. That is exactly what they try to say. So if they're saying it's for safe space from who exactly? White people? Make it make sense. And the fact that they are grouping themselves to say, oh, black people, disabled people and whatnot, they are not in the same group, they are not in the same category. Let's just be honest. But is what we see today the wokeism, where everybody wants to be grouped to think that everybody is sharing the exact same pain, and that is the lie they sell to themselves. But this is all shades of wrong. Imagine if this was done to you, you would think something else, or you would feel some type of way, but you're doing the exact same thing to somebody and you don't see any problem or you don't see any issue with it. You're trying to defend your action. Make it make sense. You see, this is what we keep saying on this channel. There are some people that learn history or read history and then decide to use or replicate exactly what happened in history to this modern day. And if you're part of anybody who supports this type of behavior or who supports this type of segregation or modern day segregation whatsoever and think it is okay, you're part of what is wrong with the society and you need to do better.
So therefore, we should have a safe space for black people as we are disproportionately affected by racism.
I don't think
No,
you
it's
tackle.
not.
I
You
don't.
wouldn't say that to a woman.
No.
You wouldn't say that to
Yes,
a
I
woman. She
would.
was talking about abuse, and therefore she wanted, and they wanted, and she wanted
All right,
a safe
let Esther
space.
respond.
I'm sorry.
You wouldn't say that.
The idea of safe spaces and black people needing safe spaces is
When
extremely
talking about
patronizing.
racism, but when talking about racism,
Okay,
Let her
but
finish.
what about
It
Asian? What about
isn't.
Asian
It
people?
isn't.
Do Asian people need safe spaces
when
from
talking,
racism?
when talking
No,
about
do Asian
racism,
people?
when
No, but they-
I'm answering your
but we don't
question.
have this
When
conversation.
talking
Let
about,
Esther finish.
No, she just asked me a question, so I'm answering it. When talking about Asian racism, I think they deserve a bit of a safe space. When they're talking
who?
about their
From
own
who?
experiences,
From black people or from white people?
From all types of people that are going
Really?
to
All right, let
promote
Esther-
judgment,
Esther.
because it's about being free of judgment.
Esther, let me
I'm
ask you.
sorry, I
Esther,
think
let me
free
ask
of
you.
white
Hang-
judgment,
Mark,
free of
Mark,
Asian
Mark,
judgment,
let
free
Esther-
of all types.
Let somebody
of
else speak,
judgment.
please.
No, I'm going to.
Or we're going to
No
have a
problem.
safe space where you get removed so that only I can be
Happily,
heard speaking.
happily, and I'll say bye to you both.
I will have a one night only. Only Piers.
Happily, I'll say bye to
Only
you both. I'll
Piers.
see you on Saturday. I'll say bye
I'll
to
have,
you.
I'll
and
have
I
one
won't be
night of the
back,
show
no
where
problem.
only I am allowed to speak and you're not allowed to because of your skin colour. How would you like that?
Well, that's called racism.
Exactly.
isn't it?
Exactly my point.
No, it's not. It's
Esther, let me
completely
ask you
different.
this. What would most black friends of yours or family think about this? I mean, in other words, is it something where a lot of black people might go, you know what, actually, I can see some merit to this?
They would see it as an American importation, right?
Does that mean necessarily a bad thing?
I think that it would.
No, it's not.
It would be seen. It would be seen as ridiculous, but ridiculously, particularly American, right? Because black people are not a monolith, which we can all agree on. Black people come from various parts of the world. They have different
But they
cultures.
share similar
This idea
experiences.
that there is a shared black experience,
But they
I think,
share
is
similar-
ludicrous.
but they
Other
do.
than the color
They
of our
do.
skin.
No,
But I
they
don't.
do.
But you have
But
to
you
accept
just-
there are many connotations you're adding to that.
by your own
I could
testament,
say
you
that.
said
I
that
could
we
say
have
that
shared
as a black
experiences
person, I
by our-
face more racism from Asian and Middle Eastern people, so I should have a safe space from those people. Can you even
That's if you want to
identify
be
them?
specific.
No,
If
but
you want
that's
to be specific, you have the right to
ridiculous.
do
I don't think.
You
Okay,
have
let
the
me
right to do
interrupt.
that if you've been
Let me
abused.
speak.
You
I
have the
don't
right
think
to do
any
that,
form of
Esther.
art should ever be exclusionary on the grounds of skin colour, regardless of who it's targeted to or who it's made by.
We're talking about race
The
equity.
whole point of art is it should be for everybody.
But we're talking about race equity.
For everybody.
Ms.
No,
Bowman.
no.
Context.
I don't. No, it's not right. There's nothing racially equal about this.
Piers.
It's racially unequal. You're saying no
Piers.
white people can come.
Context.
It's ridiculous.
What's the play about, Piers?
I've heard your art.
What's the play
It
about?
doesn't matter what it's
Yes,
about.
it does.
It
And
doesn't.
that's your issue. You want to negate context. And
No,
there is no
it doesn't
argument
matter if
from
every-
both of us without context. You know this, and yet you try to negate it.
No,
every
I don't
single
know
time
this.
here.
No, you
Deal with the
can't-
context. And if you
you
can't deal
can't-
with it, don't come with an
You
argument.
can't tell
deal
me.
with the context.
You can't tell me what I'm
No,
thinking.
exactly. But that's
right?
what you do to me.
Or what my opinion
And that's what
is.
people like you do to me.
People like
and
me?
Yes.
What do you mean
yes,
people like me?
Prejudice. Racially prejudiced people like yourself. That's what you do. That's why we need safe spaces.
You're calling me racially prejudiced.
I've done that several times, Piers. Why are you surprised?
Why are
What's
you
going
saying
on?
that?
Ignorance doesn't actually suit you.
That's ignorant, actually.
No,
what you
no,
just
it's
said.
not. I've just told you
I'm
that
not
several
racially
times.
prejudiced.
Okay,
And
so
what you just said
what's
is very
prejudice,
offensive.
Piers?
And you
What's
shouldn't be
prejudice,
saying
Piers?
that.
Piers, what's prejudice?
Huh?
What's prejudice?
If
You've
you're
been
racially
learning.
prejudiced, you are a racist.
What's prejudice?
That's what you just called
You've
me.
been learning. What's
I'm not
prejudice?
accepting that. Sorry.
What's prejudice?
Esther, will you go and watch this?
Swiftly
No,
move
but I'm
on.
No, I don't think you should be calling me a racist.
Swiftly move
It's ridiculous.
on. I've done it several times, and yet you have a problem.
then you're
on the
wrong
third
every time.
I did it last year. You're talking
Well,
about
good
it
for
today as
you.
if it's a new surprise.
It's
It's,
a-
not.
it's-
I told you last year you were racially
it's a
prejudiced, and I'm telling
lazy-
you again
it's a
today.
lazy
and yet
thing
you
to
have
say.
no argument.
It's a
That's
lazy
your
thing to
argument.
say.
Lazy thing to say. Well done.
Because I'm
Piers.
not
You're doing
racially
well.
prejudiced, never
You're doing
have
well.
been.
What's racial prejudice, Piers?
It's being a
Answer the
racist.
question. Answer the question.
It's judging
And that's
people
what you do.
prejudicially
That's what you
on their
do.
skin colour.
That's what you
Actually,
do.
rather
That
like what
is
this
what
theatrical
you
production
do.
is doing.
That's
All right.
what you do.
we're going to leave it there. Thank you both very much. I appreciate it.
How is this okay? Calling somebody racist just because the person does not agree with your views or your point of view does not cut it and doesn't make sense. And Esther is right that part, because the idea or the thought say black people safe space and whatever. Black people came from different places, have different experiences, so, and different cultural backgrounds. So talking about having safe space, obviously there are lots of people that would not even understand themselves. Talk about language barrier and all of that. There are lots of things that we have to put in place. But obviously, they will not consider this. They will say, oh, this is a safe space. From who exactly? Safe space to share the exact same pain. Not everybody share the exact same pain, and people should grow up already. But the idea where people think because you don't share the exact same views, just because of because you're white or I am black, and we don't share the exact same views, therefore I then you be called a racist because we don't share the exact same views, does not cut it. And it's how people use the word or the term racist or racism so loosely, it has actually lost its true meaning and true essence. It's insane how it's totally acceptable for black people to do the exact same thing that was done to them to white people and think nothing of it or don't see anything wrong with it. Like, it doesn't even make sense. How did you even get here? But of course, there are people who use this for whatever gain because it is profitable for them, which is not even making sense because they are trying to bring back segregation in a different way. It's how people want to normalize this and think it is okay, but it's not okay, because you know you can't accept it when it's done to you. So why do it to somebody else? But let me know what you think. I'm sure tons of people have interesting things to share. I really love to share that. You can share the useful information you think might be really helpful. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe and all of that stuff. And until next time, see you in the next video.